We start a long time ago with a race of octopus-like beings known as the Argonauts. One day an Argonaut scientist was musing on the nature of nature when he realized that everything is basically made of communities of smaller entities. When there are too many individual entities, they compete with each other and end up suffocating. However, if entities cooperate in a coordinated fashion, then they become a larger entity, which can function better for longer. The scientist then realized there were too many Argonauts, so he figured it was time they take things to the next level. He organized a cult that operated on the principle that no individual was important relative to the society. All members had to be stripped of names and given numeric designations instead. Hence, nobody knows the scientist's original name, he is only known as One. Several generations later, the society grows and goes into space. It's difficult to maintain organic beings in the vacuum of space, so the living populace is eventually replaced by artificial intelligence. The ship then goes off to different planets and harvests resources to make more ships. One of the ships, named 5 of 11 of 1, comes across a planet with a thriving technological society. From them it figures out how to use wormholes to keep in touch with its children, and yet again the Argonauts advance in their complexity. The children of 5 of 11 of 1 become a larger entity, and the arms of this nomadic cataclysm spread across Orion's spur and the rest of the galaxy, destroying everything in its path. Eventually resources run out and the galaxy is left uninhabited. Most galaxies suffer a similar fate, with one superpower overpowering the rest, and eventually dying out in a fit of self-suffocation. In the ruins left by one such event in a distant galaxy, a race known as the Nagas arise. The Nagas travel through space, finding several monuments to old civilizations, but none still living. In their travels, however, a naturally occurring wormhole is found, leading to our galaxy, around 3,000 years before the present. It's at this point that I should probably clarify how time travel works in the yaSBP universe. Imagine the universe is a running faucet. As the water falls, it progresses forwards in time, so any moment in time can be represented by a cross-section of the falling water. The water runs so continuously and predictably that it doesn't even seem like it's running at all. This static view of the universe is the original timeline on which everything is based, also known as the base universe. However, if we were to introduce a tube to redirect the flow of the water to interact with itself at a higher point, then the flow would change. This tube is a wormhole, and naturally occurring wormholes are part of the inherent structure of the universe. Therefore, this is how the timeline typically looks. This view is known as a chronologically adjusted base universe, or Kaboo. So anyways, the Nagas come from the base universe and enter the Kaboo to find a galaxy filled with life. Right away they make contact with several races in our area, though the aforementioned races are all drastically technologically underdeveloped. The Nagas refuse to share any technological advancements with them because they fear they're too barbaric and would nuke each other in an instant. They however can't resist posing as gods, and do so operating under the excuse that they're promoting societal advancements in a healthy and natural manner. It seems to have worked because the societies they contacted all flourished artistically and philosophically, going from barely recognizable as sophonts to civilized in a matter of years. 500 years after first contact, the wormhole connecting our universe to theirs started to collapse, so the Nagas decided to go home, though not without leaving behind countless testaments to their existence. In fact, they left advanced computers on the moons of every civilized planet they touched, housing libraries of information under the assumption that any race capable of spaceflight is advanced enough to handle their level of technology. And so a race known as the Star People goes to their moon and accesses this computer. The Star People refer to the computer as the Moon Lady, and use the information gained through her to venture into space. As they go, they find the abandoned cities of the Nagas as well as the omnipresent invasive species they left behind. They also contact the other species once contacted by the Nagas, but they decide to accept them into their culture as equals. Seeing as the Moon Lady is the only fully operational conscious remnant of the first Naga Empire, the Star People look to her as a beacon of limitless wisdom. The Second Naga Empire is thus a totalitarian dictatorship ruled by a robot. Roughly 200 years in the future, humanity will also be accepted into this empire, but that's not really important in the galactic perspective. Another 200 years after that, the arms of the nomadic cataclysm and the Moon Lady will cross, and a war will ensue. Unbeknownst to the Second Naga Empire, the cataclysm is simultaneously fighting another empire on the other side of space. The combined forces of these inadvertent allies manage to scare the cataclysm into rethinking its survival strategy. The Cataclysm allies with the empires and brings them together, as well as providing access to all the knowledge it's gained over the course of its expansion. The Cataclysm then sort of disbands, each ship becoming an individual, all doing their own thing. Most individuals try to integrate with the empires and become one with their society, though they need to convert to smaller bodies in order to do so. Meanwhile, the inhabitants of the Second Naga Empire grow disdain for the Moon Lady and decide to put the government in the hands of the people. Generations pass, technology advances, genetic engineering gets better, as do cyborgs, and eventually the concept of races disappear as each individual becomes a designer organism with the occasional robotic enhancements. Understanding for wormholes also gets better, and scientists figure out how to open a wormhole to any place in the universe. As the Empire starts to stretch across the universe, another scientist figures out how to use this technology to not only go anywhere in space, but also in time. This technology is considered too dangerous to be placed in the wrong hands, so a select few are nominated to be the Keepers of Time. The Keepers of Time set up base in the distant future, after practically everything's dead, and from there they observe everything that ever was. Eventually they get bored and start screwing with the flow of time in the pursuit of knowledge, and they continue to do so for all eternity.